I've got kind of a cold, overcast day here in Arizona, so it seems like a good day to do a thorough cleaning on the Pit Boss Austin XL. Yours may vary a little bit from mine, but I'm going to show you the way that I've found is the best way to get this cleaned, keeping it working properly. I only clean my Pit Boss thoroughly about every 12 to 15 cooks. You'll probably have to do yours more often than that. I've done some modifications that make that possible. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the grates, get those soaking in a tub of hot soapy water. I picked up this mortar tub at Home Depot. I find it fits these grates perfectly. Just enough soapy water to soak them for a while. Once they've soaked for an hour or so, we're going to go ahead and hit them with a brush, rinse them off, get them back on the grill. The next thing we need to do is clean up this barrel plate and sear plate cover. You can see all the drippings. This thing gets a lot of use, so that tends to pile up on that plate. You want that plate as clean as you can keep it. You're going to get a more even heat transfer. So we're going to take a putty knife, basic, and we're just going to go ahead and scrape everything off of this, knock it down into the bottom of the pit. So you can see we've already scraped the sear plate. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll get all the big chunks off of that so it'll transfer the heat nicely. Now I've modified my pit a little bit. I've got a rod that had to be unscrewed on the other end. That way I can move that back and forth without taking the grates out. So next we'll get that off of there and finish the barrel plate. Before we finish scraping that barrel plate, we took the putty knife, came up here on the top lid here, scraped all that off of there as well as we could. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I just don't like that build up. You know, that is grease and it could catch fire if it builds up enough. So we got that done. We scraped the barrel plate completely. Now you guys are going to notice that your Pit Boss Austin XL isn't going to have this hole here. This is a modification I did so that I can vacuum that fire pot without taking this thing apart. Gets me by for 10 or 12 cooks without having to completely dismantle it and clean it. So we'll get the barrel plate out and move on. With the barrel plate removed, you can see how much buildup we have of all the ash, all the stuff we knocked off that barrel plate down here in the bottom. We're going to get the shop vac out, clean this all up, vacuum it out. You can see the pot's not that full because I vacuumed it through that hole I created several times since the last time I took this apart. Got a diffuser. Yours isn't going to have that unless you've added it. It's a great add-on for temperature control. We're going to go ahead and scrape the front of this barrel. It gets a pretty good grease buildup there. I did it not too long ago, so it's not horrible. We'll go ahead and clean down here, get all the grease out of this drain. Get the shop vac out and move on. Got the shop vac out. I keep one of these heads for the shop vac separate. I only use it on this grill. It gets pretty nasty after a few uses. So we're gonna go ahead and vacuum everything out, move on to the next step. I finished vacuuming this all out. You can see it looks 100 times better. Fire pot's nice and clean. We got all the nooks and crannies cleaned up. Took a screwdriver and got all that grease out of that drain. So got a couple little things I like to do. These probes for the temperature on the dome and the temperature on the PID, they get pretty gunky. Not sure it gives you a great accurate reading when they're all clogged up that way. So I'm going to show you how I clean those. Let's get that done. To address the buildup on the probes, we're just using a little Easy Off oven cleaner. There's a cover that goes over this probe, 2 little screws. I make sure I don't tighten those too tightly when I put them back on. They're easily stripped out after they've been heated up and cooled several times. So we're going to let this sit for a little bit, and that'll just wipe clean as new. Once that's done, we'll start putting it back together. After I let that oven cleaner sit for about 15 minutes, it shined these up like they are brand spanking new. Got the one down here. So hopefully that's going to give me a little bit more accurate readings on my temperatures. While I was waiting for the oven cleaner, we went ahead and brushed all the grates, got them hosed off and drying on the side of the wall there. So it's time to put this thing back together, guys. I've got everything put back together. It's really looking good. It looks nice and clean in there. So all that's left to do is we are going to go around the outside and clean every nook and cranny of this grill. I love these quick swipers. They're coarse on one side. They really cut through the grease, let me tell you. They wipe everything down nice. So we'll get that done and give you one last peek, guys. I'll tell you, this grill is clean top to bottom, spick and span. Just finished the outside, wiped it all down. She's ready for her close-up, Mr. DeMille. If you get that reference, dude, you are old. Thanks for watching, guys.